Hello and welcome to Ever Chosen Minis. Today I'm going to show you how I paint my Imperial Fist and how you can implement these techniques to improve your armies for the tabletop. Now, these results are a lot easier to get than you think, and I want to explore taking painting to the next level through simple weathering techniques that can take any simple paint job and make it tell a story. One thing I like about weathering is it kind of hides the imperfections that you get while painting. You can even use those to your advantage to enhance this same effect on the miniatures. This grimdark weathering can be applied to any model or army you like, but I think it works best over vibrant colors like yellow. They kind of help you contrast all the grime and chips that you put all over the miniature. This kind of drew me to the Imperial Fist in the first place, and they've quickly become my favorite army to paint. Now to get started on this miniature, I started by priming it yellow, but I wasn't quite happy with the shade that I ended up with, so I went over the model with the Imperial Fist contrast paint. If you are new to painting yellow, this is basically just magic in a bottle. It works really well over yellow, but best over white. Some of my newer projects that I've started, I just replaced this step with a white primer before, and it makes it look a little bit brighter and it saves you some of the hassle of highlighting a little bit later on. But this contrast paint, it's amazing, but not perfect. So just go back in. I was using Flash Gets Yellow to kind of cover up some of the stains that you get over the flat parts of the armor and to just start that highlighting process. This next step is mostly to help define the shapes of our final highlights, but we're going to go ahead and hit the recesses of the model with Agrass Earthshape. Now, if you're messy like me, don't worry. We're going to cover some of this back up with our highlights, and a little bit of that spillover will actually help the final kind of messiness and weathering that we want to end up with on this miniature. Now, just make sure you soak up any large pools that form with the wash with a clean, damp brush, and just continue to do this. Those big splotches are a lot more noticeable on the miniature, and they won't actually help contribute to the effect. Next, we just want to cover the black parts of the marine. Any black will do, just be neat, and if it gets on the yellow, go back and clean it with a damp brush. Just wipe it away before you continue. You'll want to go ahead and cover all the marine's joints and undersuit. This will kind of help break up and segment that yellow armor. Also apply this to his gun and the little tubes there at the bottom of his helmet. Now I want to tackle the red on the armor. We want a dark red to start, and this will just cover the aquila in the middle and the edges of the shoulder pad. These are the most noticeable areas that they end up bleeding over, so just take your time on this part. You can come back with yellow later and clean up these areas as needed. For the leather, we just want to be base coating the belt and pouches. I used a light brown for this, knowing that we're just going to knock that back down later with weathering. And the next step to kind of bring everything together, get all the basing elements done, is going to be the metallic bits. This is mostly just his gun, but make sure you get the smaller stuff. Like there's a few things on his belt that are metallic, and the vents on the back are what you're going to want to hit with this. Any silver or gray metallic will work, but to finish base coating, we want to cover all the other minor details on the miniature. This will be stuff like the ribbon on his arm, and we also want to make his eyes a solid white color. The model looks pretty good at this stage, and you could start weathering here, depending on how much time you want to spend on each of your models. But I like a lot of contrast in my minis, so we're going to be adding highlights. This is going to be a great way to enhance the miniature and get you a little bit more vibrant look that's going to stand out against a lot of the darker weathering that we're going to be doing. I'm just going to be adding some white to the yellow. I'm going to start glazing this over the miniature. Just want to cover up all the panels and edges on this step, and you can kind of see how much brighter this makes the model. I'm going to do the same technique on all the colors on the model, just use a brighter version of the color, and just hit the tops and edges of everything we've done so far. And then just to finish the eyes out, we kind of prepped them pure white. We're just going to thin down some contrast paint, use a thin layer to just tint it green. And we're also going to use that to spill over the bottom. It's going to give it just a small glowing effect and just kind of make them pop out a little bit more. Now comes one of the harder steps we're going to do, and this is to apply the decals to the miniature. I want to start with a coat of gloss varnish on the areas that I want the decals to be, and you want to let this dry completely before we continue. After soaking the decal, we just want to gently position it in place, and then to seal it in, we're going to just cover it again with another layer of gloss varnish. And then once that dries, we just hit it with a matte varnish. This is going to bring down that glossiness so it doesn't stick out so much. And then your decal should be in place forever. It'll look really good. And then once we start weathering, it'll all kind of blend into the model even more. Now we can get to the good part, and this is really going to help transform the mini and get us to that grimdark look that we're hoping for. First, we want to start adding chips to the armor. We're going to do this in 2 steps, but with the same technique. We want to use the sponge with some tweezers, and we're going to start dabbing black specks onto the armor. Now, these can go anywhere on the model, but to get the most out of this effect, you're going to want to focus on the edges of the armor. And then to really kind of sell the effect, we want to do the same thing with our metallic paint. You want to do this in random spots, but also try to hit the center of the larger black chips that you've made. This will kind of make it look like the paint has chipped away and just exposed the raw metal underneath the paint. At this point, he's looking pretty beat up, but there's one more step that is going to bring this entire paint job together, and that's going to be oil paints. Now, this may seem kind of scary at first. Not everyone has experience with them, but I promise they are worth it and very easy to use. Now, on this miniature, we are going to take a pretty thick and barely thinned down oil, and we're just going to paint this directly into the recesses and where we want our shadows to be. This will look pretty bad whenever we start because we didn't thin our oil paints, but this is the best part of this medium is that it's flexible and it has a long working time. So now that we kind of have the oil in place within all the joints and kind of where we want to enhance the shadows, we just want to load our brush with spirits and we're going to start manipulating this. In this step, we're just kind of pushing the oil into the recesses, and this will also kind of help you erase it from the flat panels of the armor, and this will kind of help start cleaning up this model. Now, my favorite part of oils is how easy it is to make grime and weathering patterns. For example, on this kneecap here, I can simply swipe down with just a little bit of mineral spirits in my brush, and it's going to start making these streaking grime effects that's just going to look perfect. And at this stage, you have a lot of working time, so just make sure you trust the process, and by the time you're done, you'll be left with something that looks really stand out. And then don't do this if you want to play with them the next day, though, as oils tend to take a while to dry. You don't want to mess up that sweet paint job that you just worked so hard on. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for making it to the end. I really enjoyed painting this miniature, and hopefully you enjoyed the process and learned something to kind of help you out with your minis. Now, if you want to support this channel, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. This has been Ever Chosen Minis, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.